Yo, what is up guys? It is Bumfris, back with episode 36 of our Reddit series. This one's going to be some more entitled parents, and I've got some really good posts, so I know you're going to love this one. Just a quick thank you for 70k. That is amazing because we've gone from 50 to 70 in about 3 or 4 days, and I cannot thank you all enough. And if you're new, don't forget to smash the subscribe button. Now all you need to do is sit back, relax, and get annoyed at some entitled parents. Okay, so here's a story from when I was about 11 or 12. It was that time of the day when we got picked up from school. I'd been taking the bus since I was 11 as my parents deemed me old enough and said it would help me grow my individuality. Plus, it was a school bus reserved for the kids only, so I was in no danger. But anyway, it was a Friday afternoon and I was looking forward to going home and spending the weekend playing Persona 3, when there was some sort of commotion at the front of the bus. I looked ahead and saw some mother trying to get on the bus with her child. Now, this bus was strictly for children only, for what should be obvious reasons. We had no way to clarify if this woman was actually someone's mother, and it was better safe than sorry, as they say. What I heard next though was absolutely mind-boggling. The conversation between the driver and this lady was frankly hilarious, and keep in mind I was living in the UK at the time, so prepare for some British slang phrases. The bus driver says, "I'm sorry ma'am, you can't get on. The bus is reserved for children. You'll have to find another way home." The entitled mum then goes, "What the floop?" Keeping in mind this is a bus with 8 to 12-year-olds on it. I come all the way here, I walk to collect my damn daughter, only to find some minimum wage a-hole won't let me get this bus home? Do you know what I've gone through? And the bus driver responds, "Sorry ma'am, but children only. We can't risk letting a random adult on." Then she goes, "So you're calling me an effing nonce? How do I know you aren't one?" At this point, everyone on the bus was staring at the woman, and the poor driver looked like he wanted to just get on with his job. But of course, the woman would not relent. The entitled mum then says, "I have a right to be on this bus. My children are part of this school." Then by all means, your children can get on, just not you. It's policy. By then, the daughter who was around my age tried to slip on the bus, blushing and clearly embarrassed at the attention, but her mother sharply tugged her back. And she says, "No, you are not getting on this bus until this a-hole lets me on with you." After 10 minutes of back and forth, the mother eventually left, taking her child with her, and the driver sighed with relief, as we finally head off home. The ironic part is, the woman's daughter I ended up dating, and I still do to this day. And she said once, and I quote, "Sometimes I wish I had your parents, or even anybody else's." Man, that was a plot twist and a half. This was the first time I read this story, and I'll tell you, there is no way in hell that I saw that coming. All I can say to this dude is, good luck in the future, because it sounds like this is not going to be a once-off thing. I'm a full-time student at a state university. To make extra money, I take classes in the afternoon and work mornings in a donut shop near my house. A few days ago, my manager and I were getting ready to open the shop. I get there around 5 AM and the store opens to the public at 5:30, so there's a solid 30 minutes of prep work, e.g. brewing coffee, organising displays, etc. However, we typically don't have customers until about 6 AM, which gives us a bit of a window to finish up the less important of our opening tasks, such as hint hint, preparing and setting out samples. For our samples, we usually take our flavour of the day donuts, i.e. a special flavour that we only have on that particular day of the week, cut it into bite-sized chunks, and put them on a sample tray on the counter for customers to try. I'm getting ready to do just that when a woman, late 20s, maybe early 30s, and her child, 5 to 6, walk in the store at about 5:35 AM. Me and my manager share a quick look of mild surprise, as it is a bit unusual to see someone in here so early, especially with a child. To put it into perspective, typically, the only people in here this early are the occasional firemen, police officers, teachers, etc. Still, no biggie. Since I was already in the middle of something, my manager goes to greet them and take their order, and I get back to getting the samples ready. I take out a donut and set it on the display plate, only to realize I forgot a knife. The entitled parent, who has been texting since she walked in and shows no signs of looking up even to place her order, proceeds to get 9 dozen donuts, an order that by all means should have been called in ahead of time, and requires 3 of our largest boxes. Hearing this, I move the display tray to the side of the counter and behind the boxes of tissue paper that we use to grab the donuts, as I don't want it to get in the way of my manager while she's boxing up the orders. I then go back and grab my knife from the kitchen, a trip that took 15 seconds max, only to return to see the sample plate is empty. Confused, I look at the open boxes to see if perhaps my manager grabbed it while filling the order. Considering that the flavour of the day was red velvet, it was very easy to tell that it wasn't there. I then turned to look over the counter, wondering if it had somehow been knocked onto the floor. That's when I noticed the entitled parent's child sitting in one of the armchairs in the corner of the eating area with what is undoubtedly the missing sample donut. Now, this probably pissed me off more than it should have. Hell, it still does. Since I've worked there a while, I've seen more than my fair share of entitled parents or large groups take more than one or even all of the samples for themselves. pretending they're being sneaky, or just not caring. It really grinds my gears, but this was a level of blatant jackassery that I couldn't even fathom. My manager, who is now taping up the boxes, must have noticed that I stopped moving. She glanced at me, notices my now empty sample plate, then follows my gaze to the child in the corner. She blinks a couple of times, clearly just as baffled as I was, and then turns to the entitled parent. She says to her, "Excuse me, ma'am, did you take the donut that was sitting on this plate?" The entitled mum, who was still taking a second before finally bothering to look up from her phone, says, "Yeah, why?" My manager then says, "Ma'am, that was an entire donut." The entitled parent, while blinking at us with the worst expression of fake ignorance I've ever seen, says, "What? It was on a sample tray. I thought it was a free sample." So my manager was clearly annoyed, and then she goes, "Ma'am, taking that sample required you to reach over the counter, take an entire donut from an unlabeled tray, and give it to your child while our backs were turned. I hardly think that situation implies typical sample rules." The mum was annoyed and obviously unapologetic, and then she says, "Well, it's your own fault for leaving it there unattended. If you don't want people thinking it's a free sample, you shouldn't have left it on that tray." At this point, it's pretty clear that we aren't going to get anywhere productive with this, and frankly, one donut isn't worth starting a ruckus over. I ring her up while my manager brings the boxes over, and the total is pretty hefty. Well over $100 since she got some drinks as well. Now, on our cash registers, you have to press a subtotal button before it will display the amount owed on the customer's side of the counter. Additionally, the credit card receipts aren't itemized and only display the total amount paid. We typically only print itemized receipts on request for card purchases. Wouldn't you know it, this lady didn't ask for an itemized receipt, so it would have been very easy for the price of, say, one measly donut to have found its way onto the total without anyone ever knowing. Very easy indeed. Damn, isn't it nice to actually see one of the entitled parents get a taste of their own medicine for a change? I know the subreddit we're doing today is entitled parents, but this absolutely could have been on petty revenge as well. Honestly, I'm just glad the entitled parent didn't get away with it this time. So, when you turn 14, you can go and work at an arcade, and that's where I work. I got the job and everything was fine. We had a rule that if a little kid 5 years or under was around 250 to 1 tickets away, we would make an exception to give the child the prize. So it was a slow day and we start like usual. Most people are at the beach and then our rush comes in. This is where our entitled mum comes into the story. So I finish a little kid's prize and give it to him as he was 5 tickets away. The entitled mum comes on the counter and slaps a 2,000 ticket roll onto the counter. The entitled mum then turns to her kid and says, "Alright, let's call him little Jimmy. What do you want?" Now, I expect something small, like a Slinky or some Pokemon cards. And the entitled kid says, "I want the TV," and points at it. I say to them, "I'm sorry, but you don't have enough tickets to get that. May I recommend that game? You can actually get a lot of tickets from that game." So the entitled mum goes, "Well, why can't you just take the tickets and give us the TV? It isn't like they matter to you." So I respond, "Sorry, I'm not allowed to do that." Then she goes on a rant and says how it's my fault that her autistic PTSD kid mattered most. The entitled kid starts to cry, and she says, "Look at what you've done. I want your manager." Now, the manager was out to lunch, and surprise, he put me in charge for the time being. And I say, "I am the manager. That must have been what done it," as she left by flipping me off. What a nice woman. To be completely honest, these are the kind of entitled parents that really annoy me. You come across a lot of parents in these series, in particular mothers, who are just straight horrible people. While they do fill the entitled parents category, a lot of the time they're just straight up criminals and they get away with so many horrible things. Now that's not to say that someone like this woman is better than any of those people. What I'm trying to say is that people like this, who are entitled over some of the most ridiculous things, just don't make any sense to me. Really, I don't know which one of these people I would rather run into. I just hope that for my own sake and for everyone around me's sake, I don't ever run into an entitled parent. Alright everyone, that is that for today's episode. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed the video. I just want to take a second to talk about how incredible all of you have been lately. Like I said at the start of the video, we're over 70,000 subscribers already, and quite a few of you have noticed that about 4 days ago, I only had 50,000. Now, I wish I could tell you that I had the secret to that happening, but I don't, so all I want to do is say thank you so much to every single person who has subscribed in the last few days. It really does mean a lot to me that so many of you have decided to stick around lately, and I really do hope that every single one of you are enjoying the videos that I put out. So again, thank you so much, you're all fantastic, and I love every single one of you. Also, for those of you that haven't already joined or those of you that don't know about it, I'm going to put the Discord server link in the description below. The biggest reason being that there is a submit your stories section within the Discord server, and in the next few days, possibly the next week, I'm going to be doing an episode where it's just stories from the Discord server. I do notice that I see quite a few of you posting stories in the comments section on the videos, and while I absolutely love that, it can be sometimes easy to miss. So if you do have a story you want me to potentially read out, join the Discord server, pop it in, and I'll be doing it like I said in the next week or so. But otherwise, that just about wraps things up from me. I just want to say again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and I'll see you all tomorrow for another Reddit video. Bye.